لا لا لا.
Hello? 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 Hello?
Hi everyone. We're going to start. Sorry for being 3 minutes late. Great to have you on our event, Voices of the Future, calling for climate justice. My name is Nafkote Dabi, Climate Policy Lead at OXFAM International. Today I've been given the honor to be sharing this space with amazing, incredible climate activists. We're going to be talking about their experiences, also, motivation, inspiration, in terms of some of the actions that they have taken so that we can learn from each other. As most of you know, young climate activists are playing an incredible role in the climate justice, in the global climate justice movement. They're actually transforming it, they're strengthening it, and of course, they don't have a choice. They're the most impacted, and unfortunately, our governments, our leaders are not taking action. So young climate leaders are the ones who are taking action. So in today's event, we'll be discussing and highlighting some of the amazing initiatives young people are taking to address climate change, to demand for action and justice. But before we delve into the discussion, let me introduce the panelists. So we have Annick Monen. She's the chair, Dutch Youth Climate Movement, WATGP partner. She will be speaking on her organization's direct impact on increasing the level of ambition of Dutch climate policy and the development of a national youth climate agenda. And then we have Marcelina Ategua. She's from Togo. She's a representative of JVE to talk about how local and indigenous adaptation solutions were disseminated during the stages of the COP Climate Caravan. We will learn in a bit about the Climate Caravan. And then we have Nishad Shafi. He's the Executive Director, Arab Youth Climate Movement in Qatar, also a WATGP partner. He will be speaking to his organization's work in climate education and the cooperation with youth around the world on a global youth climate agenda. And then we have Aishata Kone from Mali. She's a young representative of the COP Climate Caravan, and she's here to talk to us about the Climate Caravan, how they mobilize climate vulnerable communities and civil society organizations across Africa. So welcome. And welcome to all of you. Before we start, actually, I just want to let you know we have translation, channel 2 for French and channel 3 for English. So welcome to everyone. I'm really excited about this event. So we will spend the next 30 to 40 minutes learning from our panelists what gives them inspiration and motivation, some of the amazing initiatives they have been carrying out. We also have a short video from the Climate Caravan to show, just like a minute, 2 minutes video. And then we will have Q&A around 7:40, so like 20 minutes before closing remarks. So let's start the first discussion item, which is on inspiration and motivation. So this is the question to the panelists. When was the first moment you realized that the adults were not going to solve the climate crisis for you, and you as a young person decided to roll your sleeve and take action? We can start from Annick. We will have 2 minutes each. 2 minutes.
Yes, thank you very much, Naf. Very thankful to be here. Very thankful to have you guys in the audience as well. So when did I first realize that adults weren't going to solve this problem? I think I've always kind of known, but the first time it really became clear to me was I was lucky enough to, through my university, go on an exchange in California. I'm from the Netherlands myself, so a very small country that, fortunately for the Dutch people, is not that much of a victim to climate change just yet. So a lot of us are growing up quite privileged. We don't really see climate change that much around us yet. So I first went abroad and I saw in another country how climate change was already affecting everyone who was living there. And as someone who was growing up in such a safe environment, that really shocked me to my core. And I saw so many people just in those environments that even the very privileged people were, hurt so much by climate change. I'm specifically mentioning the wildfires that are obviously targeting that area every single summer at this point. People losing their homes, people losing families, people losing actual people that they know. And as I said, it just shook my core, and I came back to the Netherlands and I thought, wow, this is so much bigger than I've ever really imagined. And it started off just me being very desperate, how am I ever gonna do something about this? I'm just an individual. But then I found out about the Dutch Youth Climate Movement, which is an NGO in the Netherlands that unites the voice of young people in the Dutch climate debate. So what we do is we talk to people from all over the country about what they really want their country and their future to look like. And I first discovered the organization, and it just gave me so much hope that so many young people were investing all of their time and all of their energy into such an organization where they got, at that point, very little out of, but in the end, obviously, we get so much out of. And I just saw, obviously, we as a country aren't hitting our climate targets. I don't think any country is at this point. But seeing so many young people gave me so much hope, and that is kind of when I decided to join that movement and invest as much time and energy into myself.
Thank you so much, Aniek. Marceline?
Thank you, Madame the Moderator. Thank you for the opportunity. I'll continue in French. So, ma motivation, c'était d'abord, il faut commencer quelque part. Moi, en tant que jeune, j'ai fini mes études et tout ça, je n'avais pas idée des changements. C'est vrai que chaque fois on disait que tout a changé, mais je n'avais pas idée de ce que c'est que les changements climatiques, tout ce qui vient en termes d'effets des changements climatiques que nous subissons. Mais mon entrée dans l'organisation Jeunes Volontaires pour l'environnement m'a permis de m'éduquer, et surtout l'histoire derrière l'initiative même de l'organisation Jeunes Volontaires pour l'environnement m'a beaucoup motivée, m'a beaucoup inspirée. Et j'aimerais bien partager cette histoire avec vous. C'était dans un petit village où les jeunes allant à l'école et tout ça, un jour, il y a leur forêt classée, qu'on appelle la forêt classée d'Assimé, qui a pris feu. Dans la forêt, c'est là, il y a des semences, c'est là, les parents faisaient de l'agriculture, toute activité qui était revenue de subsistance pour les familles. Avec cet incident, vous comprenez que c'est toute la famille qui est mise à l'épreuve. Et c'est dans ce sens que les jeunes se sont mobilisés pour vraiment aller avec des initiatives propres, essayer de maîtriser la feu là, bien que le désastre était déjà là. Donc, à partir de cet instant, il y a eu le déclic au sein de cette jeunesse qui s'est mobilisée à former, dans un premier instant, l'organisation qu'on appelle c'était JUP, Jeunes Unis pour l'environnement. Et aujourd'hui, nous sommes à Jeunes Volontaires pour l'environnement. Donc, cette initiative m'a beaucoup interpellée en tant que jeune, et c'est avec engouement que j'ai vraiment pas à pas appris aux côtés de Gilles ce que c'est que l'environnement d'abord, parce qu'avant on disait que c'est tout ce qui nous entoure, et puis ça se limitait là. Et quel enjeu nos actions pouvaient apporter sur nous en termes d'êtres humains, en tant qu'une partie intégrante de cet écosystème dans lequel nous vivons. Donc je pense que c'est vraiment un déclic, un détour qui m'a donné une perspective différente des questions de l'environnement, de la protection des écosystèmes, et surtout de l'implication de la jeunesse. Vous voyez, sans cette aventure, franchement, peut-être je n'aurais pas même idée de ce qui se passe en termes d'enjeux globaux. C'est vrai que les rencontres se font, et même avec l'organisation, j'ai remarqué moi personnellement, à chaque fois que je vais aux rencontres avec des acteurs de la société civile, des acteurs qui interviennent dans des processus de décision, je remarque que les jeunes n'étaient pas représentés. Donc pour moi, c'était un privilège d'abord d'être là, représenter la jeunesse, Et là, j'ai compris qu'il fallait que vraiment je m'engage pour apporter toute la jeunesse que je représente à cette table-là, à ces initiatives. Et c'est comme ça que mon activisme a pris feu, et de bout en bout avec des personnes ressources qui m'ont accompagné. Moi-même, je me suis investie dans les consultations, dans les revues documentaires pour m'éduquer. Et aujourd'hui, je peux affirmer que oui, je suis environnementaliste, je suis activiste et climat. Merci.
As we are, Marcelina, we're also happy about that, really. Thank you for the powerful speech. Next is Nishad.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation here. Good to hear great stories of yours, how you ended up in supporting and feeling that how our elders will not able to do the work and we have to step in. I mean, it started in 2015 when I got a chance to go to COP21 in Paris. I saw a lack of youth representation. That was sort of a trigger which made me think about having more young people on this platform. So when I think of a platform, there wasn't any platform as such. So I thought that this was an opportunity for young people from Qatar to be part of the climate conversation, which normally used to be taken care by only government and the elderlies from the government. So since coming back from COP21 in Paris, we started this group as sort of a youth group where we have like young people who are given platform to talk about climate change, educate, building awareness within the community, start a couple of programs that one I will be explaining later. So basically trying to build sort of an advocacy within the community. And it did got a lot of leverage moving forward. In 2018, we registered this as an association and we work as a youth-led environmental association in the state of Qatar. So the big trigger came knowing that the whole COP and climate negotiations been done by elders and senior members of our country, but we are not able to solve it till date. I say it's still continuing. We are at COP27 now. So nothing has been changed, but yes, little progress. We are optimistic about a better future. But that was a trigger which made me think about having a sort of youth platform where young people start thinking about their future, taking up such positions, both political or non-political, but to make that right choices or right policies or right programs in the country and the community. So yeah, basically that was something that triggered me to start Arab Youth Climate Movement Qatar.
Thank you so much, Nishad. Aisha?
Ok, merci de m'avoir donné la parole. J'avoue que c'est un honneur pour moi, un vrai plaisir d'être là aujourd'hui à la COP. C'est une vraie opportunité pour moi en tant que femme jeune. Et avant de parler de ma motivation personnelle, permettez-moi de lancer notre slogan parce que je suis de la convergence globale des lutteurs au Ouest africaine. Donc, je suis une jeune militante au sein de la convergence et je suis avec mes camarades ici. Et je vais lancer les slogans pour que les gens sachent qu'on est là pour relever les défis et on est là pour solutionner vraiment ces changements, lutter contre ces changements climatiques. À qui la terre? À qui les eaux? À qui les semences? Touche pas! Touche pas! Ma terre! Mon eau! On n'est pas, nous irons. Merci, chers camarades, même dégâts, même combat et la lutte continue. Et aujourd'hui, on ne peut pas parler de l'humanité sans parler de la terre, on ne peut pas parler de l'humanité sans parler de l'eau, on ne peut pas parler de l'humanité sans parler de nos semences paysannes. Donc, quand on me pose la question, quelle est ma motivation personnelle, je dirais, moi d'abord, en tant que jeune, personne ne peut parler de nation sans jeunesse. La jeunesse, elle est l'avenir de toute nation. C'est la jeunesse qui a vraiment de l'énergie pour relever les défis. C'est vrai, on doit être accompagné par les douaniers, mais nous sommes l'avenir de demain. Donc, il est temps que nous prenions notre destin en main. Et moi, en tant que jeune, quand on me demande quelle est ma motivation, et pour cette COP d'abord, je dirais que je suis là au nom de ces femmes qui sont au fin fond des villages, qui n'ont pas accès à l'information sur les changements climatiques. Je suis là au nom de la jeunesse qui ignore qu'est-ce que c'est que les changements climatiques au fin fond de mon village. Le changement climatique, quand on parle de changement climatique, ça touche plus les femmes que les jeunes. Parce que je suis en contact permanent avec ces femmes qui sont vraiment vulnérables, qui sont des couches marginalisées et qui ne savent pas quoi faire face à ces désastres, qui ne savent pas quoi faire face à ces changements climatiques. Donc il est vraiment temps qu'on retourne vraiment à la base et qu'on les explique et qu'on les aide pour qu'elles puissent vraiment s'en sortir de ces conséquences désastreuses du changement climatique. Et moi, je dirais que la jeunesse plus les femmes, nous pouvons relever les défis. Quand on parle de changement climatique, on parle d'énergie. Il faut qu'on ait vraiment de l'énergie. Il faut vraiment qu'on ait de force. Il faut vraiment qu'on pose des actions concrètes. C'est vrai, on a beaucoup parlé, on a beaucoup interpellé, mais il faut poser des actes. Il est temps de poser des actes contre ce changement climatique. Parce que nous, paysans et paysannes, on ne peut plus continuer comme ça. On ne peut plus continuer à subir cette injustice climatique. Il est vraiment temps qu'on se donne la main. Il est vraiment à la solidarité entre les pays africains pour qu'on puisse vraiment relever les défis. Et la jeunesse a sa place. Et la jeunesse a son rôle. Et les femmes et les jeunes peuvent relever ces défis. Merci.
I'm actually afraid to come after that speech. Thank you so much, Aishata. I mean, really, I don't have additional things to say. For me, and I'm sure for a lot of people here, you are the hope. All of you are the hope, because imagine the UNFCCC has existed since 1992, and we're being told now that we're on a path to 2.6, 2.8 degrees of warming, which is not great news for the Earth, for humanity. So if there's anyone to take action to give us hope, you know, it's us, yeah? The youth, the ordinary citizens. So thank you so much for sharing your motivation and inspiration. Now we will be showing a very short video from the Climate Caravan. Thank you so much, Anna.
As we head to COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, the African Climate Caravan traveled across 28 countries on the African continent to highlight the real impacts of climate change on people and the environment, and to propose solutions to policymakers to address this climate crisis. Thousands of young people, women, farmers, communities, and over 170 civil society organizations joined this unprecedented movement asking for climate justice. Although Africans are the least responsible for this climate crisis, they suffer the full consequences. Loss of livelihoods for rural communities, population displacements, conflicts over access to land and water resources, food insecurity, in the Horn of Africa and West Africa, 68 million people are threatened by hunger, partly due to droughts, floods, conflicts over access to land and water resources. The climate caravans raised the expectations that heads of state and governments of the 28 participating countries will defend the interests of their own people, in particular by supporting the agroecological transition and the rights of peasant communities, by preserving natural environments, and by demanding greater accountability from carbon-emitting countries to finance measures to adapt to climate change on the continent. In particular, African Climate Caravans asked that the rich and polluting states respect their commitment to mobilize $100 billion per year until 2025, a target that they are yet far from reaching. That these same states define a new financing target for after 2025, taking into account the needs of African populations to adapt to climate change. That they prioritize grants over loans so as not to add to countries' debt and thus enable them to provide basic services to communities affected by climate change. To do this, they have organized hundreds of activities, community talks, marches, raising awareness on biodiversity erosion, tree planting, advocacy work, screenings, media interventions, raising awareness in schools, press conferences. It is time for the voices of these neglected populations to be heard. Through these field actions and its influence work, the African Climate Caravan intends to increase the pressure on African citizens, on national governments, and during the international negotiations in Sharm el-Sheikh. It hopes to contribute to a stronger and more sustainable climate justice movement on a global scale.
Thank you so much for that. Marcelina and Aishata are part of the Climate Caravan, as I think many others in this audience know. We're very proud, to have supported the Climate Caravan. This year we decided to work with partners across Africa, and as you have seen, we were in 28 African countries, partners, communities actually impacted by the climate crisis, putting forth, their vision for what they want out of this COP. Thank you so much. Let's move on to the next discussion item, which is taking action. So the question is, what direct action have you taken to address the climate crisis in your community? And how do you think decision makers could learn from this? We'll start from Anik and then all the way to Aishata. Thank you.
Yes, again, thank you very much. So the question is about what direct action I've taken or we've taken in our community. And that community is the Netherlands, which is a country in Europe. And for those who don't know the Netherlands, it's one of the global north countries who still to this day has one of the highest per capita CO2 emissions. So we as an organization found it very important that we as a country as well take our responsibility to fight the climate crisis and make sure that we lower our emissions as quickly as possible to fit that 1.5 degree target that we set in the Paris Agreement. So as a country, we're very lucky as well because we're so small to have a government who is willing to talk to youth. So we started the Youth Climate Movement, which is an umbrella organization that unites the voice of now over 70 different youth organizations, together representing 1 million Dutch youth. And what we do is we talk to these young people about what they want from their future. And we use these inputs for advocacy work. So I think it's a quite unique model where we ask questions to youth such as in 2040, when we need to be climate neutral, preferably earlier, how do you want to live? In what housing do you want to live? What jobs do you want to do? What food do you want to eat? Et cetera, et cetera. And we use the inputs to this question to formulate a youth climate agenda. And this youth climate agenda is a kind of a sneak peek to what the world could look like if we hit those, or if we stay below the 1.5 degree target, and if we actually hit those climate targets. And it sketches quite a positive image of what not only the Netherlands could look like, but also the rest of the world. That youth climate agenda is then the kind of the basis that we use to engage in conversations with policymakers from all different kinds of ministries and from a House of Representatives as well, and here at conferences like the COP, to make sure that youth are not only seen as a group who protests, which is obviously super, super important to make our voices heard, but also to value young people as a valuable stakeholder at the table and for them to actually help negotiate what we want as climate policies. So in that sense, we as an organization try to kind of counter the lobby force that we have already there from the big business, the big industry, who are right at this moment, here at this conference, back at home, everywhere we go, are trying to influence climate policies and trying to make them as less ambitious as possible. And we as an organization thought we need to be able to counter this with a strong movement of young people, ambitious people, who also want to have a say in this and know that they want to make it more ambitious and can kind of pull the policy discussion in the other direction. And I think your second question was, how do you think policymakers could learn from this? And I think in general this is kind of a calling to, especially I think those policymakers in the Netherlands, but also in other European countries where you say that you want to hear these young people and that you're interested in hearing their opinions, but whenever we talk to you, so how do you know actually what young people want? Do you know what policies they're demanding? And in a lot of those cases, they tell us, oh, we actually don't know where to find these young people, and there's no young people that are interested in being engaged in this policy discussion. And that is never true. There's, in every single country, there's hundreds of young people who are willing and are educated enough and knowing enough to be able to be that so valuable stakeholder at the table. You just have to try and want to have them at the table. And in general, just we need to empower these youth organizations as well. So we need to do our best, to do our work, to find these youth organizations and offer them a spot at the table, because they deserve that spot. Maybe one more connection as well, maybe to you as well, Nishad. So what we did, maybe also a nice calling to this audience as well, is so 2.5 years ago we founded the We Are Tomorrow Global Partnership, in which Nishad is a part as well. And we're an international partnership of now 11 different youth organizations from all around the world, who are these youth organizations that want to be involved in the policy discussion and have ideas of what they want their future to look like. And that We Are Tomorrow Global Partnership, or what GP, is growing super fast. They're everywhere at this conference. Nishad is here. We have some people in the audience as well. I'm very, very proud of this group. And maybe to the audience, if you're a youth organization that wants to get involved, definitely look us or some of the people here in the front up after this event. And we'd love to unite forces and change the world together.
Thank you so much, Annick. Marceline.
Thank you. Pour nous, c'est vraiment très, très important l'implication de la jeunesse au devant de la scène. Donc, nous avons mené dans un premier temps un travail de renforcement de capacité, la mobilisation de la jeunesse autour des questions et enjeux globaux, et ensuite un renforcement de capacité à pouvoir savoir de quoi il s'agit quand on parle des changements climatiques, à pouvoir idéaliser sur ce que nous voulons en termes de la protection de l'environnement, en termes de la planète. Donc, ce qui a fait qu'aujourd'hui, dans cette mobilisation, nous sommes l'ONG Jeunes Volontaires pour l'environnement représentée dans 28 pays d'Afrique et avec des initiatives vraiment très, très vastes dans chaque pays. Donc, nous travaillons au renforcement des capacités de la jeunesse, nous travaillons à l'accompagnement des initiatives de jeunesse au sein des communautés, notamment à travers les activités de formation au niveau décentralisé, dans des écoles d'intervention, dans des écoles où nous éduquons la jeunesse sur les pratiques écologiques. Voilà, aujourd'hui nous sommes citoyens, donc ça fait partie du civisme écologique de la jeunesse de demain, parce que nous envisageons une jeunesse responsable, éco-citoyenne, qui participe vraiment aux prises de décision, qui a un mot, même s'il n'est pas invité à pouvoir donner son avis sur des surtout en ce qui concerne les effets des changements climatiques. Parce que nous savons très bien que la jeunesse est vulnérable face à ces effets, d'où nous ne sommes même pas auteurs. Donc, c'est vraiment très important, ces éléments. Donc, nous avons même des représentants ici, des différents pays de JVE, qui ont participé aussi dans ce processus de caravane. Et vraiment, au Togo particulièrement, où j'ai coordonné l'activité, nous avons notifié que vraiment la jeunesse innove. Nous avons des solutions qui restent à petite échelle et c'est vraiment très, très important qu'on mette la lumière sur les initiatives de cette jeunesse, et les initiatives des groupements de femmes, des paysans qui travaillent qui cultivent la terre, qui aujourd'hui, grâce à notre accompagnement, adoptent l'agroécologie nous sommes dans une transition agroécologique parce que c'est vrai que nous avons été, noyés dans l'agriculture chimique, toxique. Et aujourd'hui, nous nous sommes rendus compte que c'est vraiment très important pour nous d'aller vers une transition agroécologique qui pense au bien-être de nos organismes, au bien-être des autres écosystèmes aussi. Donc, pour nous, c'est très, très important de partager ces leçons apprises. Vraiment, ça a été bénéfique, cette caravane. Nous avons découvert des éléments vraiment au niveau local très, très formidables. Vous voyez, vous rencontrez que des jeunes prennent des initiatives individuelles et c'est très important quand même de les amener à l'échelle des communautés dans les villages qui cultivent la terre, qui aujourd'hui adoptent les biofertilisants, qui reviennent aux connaissances, aux savoirs endogènes pour pouvoir vraiment pratiquer cette agriculture biologique. Concernant la seconde question, quels sont les éléments sur lesquels nous aimerions bien que c'est des décisionnels, ceux qui sont habilités à prendre des décisions dans nos pays, c'est vraiment très important pour eux de créer d'abord cet espace d'échange. Nous, à JV, nous avons eu l'opportunité d'avoir cette plateforme internationale où nous discutons entre nous, nous partageons les leçons apprises, nous partageons les initiatives, nous communiquons sur ce que nous faisons. Donc, c'est quand même important pour avoir un accompagnement au niveau vraiment national, au niveau des pays, de pouvoir créer l'espace des jeunes où on favorise plus la mutualisation, l'unification des activités et porter les activités à l'échelle. Donc, c'est quand même très important également de réserver une place, vous voyez, une place dédiée à la jeunesse dans toutes choses que les parties prenantes, que ce soit à la COP et tout ça. Aujourd'hui, moi, j'ai eu l'opportunité de participer à cette COP grâce à l'initiative des caravanes. À cette COP, c'est vraiment d'abord partager ce que nous avons identifié en termes de ce qui marche vraiment, partager les leçons apprises, partager des inquiétudes et voir comment est-ce que nous pouvons aussi apprendre d'autres déjà qui font aussi pareil dans leur communauté. Donc, c'est vraiment très, très important, ce cadre-là qui favorise la mutualisation, l'unification des jeunes. Et aussi pour les actions concrètes que nous menons, nous travaillons plus sur les questions de plaidoyer. Les plaidoyers, pour nous, c'est vraiment très important parce que ça permet d'influencer les décisions. Et aujourd'hui, nous faisons partie des plateformes vraiment qui ont l'attitude de vraiment impacter d'une certaine manière les grandes décisions qui sont prises au niveau international. Et je pense que c'est quand même capital de pouvoir multiplier ces genres de collaboration, de création d'alliances pour porter ensemble, parce qu'on a remarqué que plus on est ensemble, plus la voix porte. Et c'est quand même très important pour nous de mener des activités de plaidoyer au niveau des décisions, au niveau des parties prenantes et au niveau aussi des acteurs au niveau local pour notre implication dans le processus de développement de notre communauté. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much. Nishant.
Thank you. Good to hear two interesting stories of how you've been working in the community. So I'm going to share about two programs. One of our program we did back in Qatar, and one our Youth Global Climate Agenda, which we work together with other groups across the region and globally. So one of the projects we introduced last year on a big question that most of the time young people keep asking, what can I do for climate action? So it's a huge thing, of course, we understand, but at what level we can enforce beyond policy? So we started looking at areas where young people can be involved, but also take action from a very personal level. So this led us to start to look around the carbon footprint. So we started working to basically understand what's each individual's carbon footprint on the ecosystem. So we started a sort of calculator, which was a locally designed calculator. It went on to become a first of its kind household carbon footprint calculator, which was done by our team. So in the beginning, we started as an app on a desktop, on a computer, and we found that we wanted to target young people at the school. We found that people are not interested. We just got 14 to 15 young people putting those data, getting their instant carbon footprint. We thought, wow, people are not attracted. They were asking for climate action, how I can do at a personal level, and that surprised us. Then came the big answer, because young people like innovative things. They don't like Dell Excel sheets to be filled. So we worked on with an app developer to develop an app which was more youth-friendly, which was very cozy enough for young people to be more attracted. And that led us to make an app which was released last year, and it was a sort of a big success because it reached out almost 2,000 young people in almost 250 schools in Qatar. And the idea was to build sort of young people's understanding of what is climate change is, and what are our personal footprint, what are things we can change, not to blame individual, but to see that, to showcase them that this is an individual footprint. Just imagine the footprint of corporates and oil and gas companies. So the idea is to bring that very grassroots understanding of footprint, carbon, what is carbon has to do with global warming, etc. So it was a huge success. Following up, this program was further supported by the State of Qatar Ministry of Education and Ministry of Health. So now the big question, why are these two government entities part of this project? Ideally, there's a big lack of data within the State of Qatar that how many young people are environment friendly, are thinking about environment friendly, how we can incorporate environmental curriculum in the schools, especially Arabic-speaking Qatari schools. So this was basically a data-driven initiative. So the ministry was interested to see at the data of young people participating between the age of 12 to 35 to see their understanding of environmental issues, how are they changing their behavior over time. And we are also partnered by Supreme Committee of Legacy, which is a FIFA World Cup organizing committee, who want to look at the behavioral aspects of young people who take up these surveys multiple times a month. So to see what exactly is happening or individual level, how young people are actually really taking action, or is just they're talking about taking action. Can they do it that from a personal front? So we started going to schools, training the teachers and students to take this app because it requires data, because you need your electricity data, your water consumption data, your meat consumption data, your food consumption data, your air travel consumption data. Every aspect of our lives are taken care in this questionnaire. So we were surprised that everybody was happy to take this survey and the data. So now we are working on a data analysis to share with Ministry of Education to see how this can be part of the curriculum. And because another question, why Ministry of Health was part of it, because we have a huge questions on health, because we were looking at food consumption. So we were asking what is the food consumed, whether it is vegetarian, non-vegetarian, amount of meat consumed, and also waste generated. So you have to weigh both organic and inorganic waste generated. So it is a huge tedious survey. It was not just like a normal survey calculator you find online where you click, 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 and you get your carbon footprint now. It was very comprehensive. It needed training. And it took us almost 6 months to go around 500 schools in Qatar. Now we have opened this program to also community. They can take part in this survey and look at their carbon footprint. And we went to one level ahead. Once a month, we do a sort of intergenerational workshop where we invite the students or young youth who take part in this survey, along with their parents and teachers, to attend our workshop. The workshop is basically talking about how our predecessors lived in a country like Qatar with the least luxury, least air cooling, and least of everything, because the country was always hot. Air cons came lately, like 40 or 30 years back. People used to live under a fan. People used to conserve water. People didn't have the same luxury they used to. So it was sort of an intergenerational discussion between parents and teachers and students, and it was quite surprising. Many of the young people didn't know how their parents lived. So there was a huge gap, even though people say they are from the Bedouin community, which are tribal communities. They also progressed over the years since the country progressed, but people forget the pathways. And this was eye-opening when the kids' parents were sharing that, because now we drink desalinated water because most of the waters are salt-based water. So parents used to boil it themselves and consume it. They didn't depend on desalination system back then. So a lot of good practices were shared, and it was greatly perceived, and we will be organizing every month intergenerational workshop with people who are taking part in the survey. Another one I wanted to just touch base is our Global Agenda program, which came out as our global call for action on justice, social justice, and how we all can be part of it. We came up with all the organizations who are part of We Are Tomorrow with the call for action. You can find our document online. We can give our scan code after the event to read our call for action. It is an inclusive document by a lot of organizations who are part of We Are Tomorrow. I hope you can able to read it, and I thank you for my time.
Thank you so much, Nishad. Ashata?
Ok, merci encore de m'avoir donné la parole, la grande modératrice. Et permettez-moi de dire que celui qui fait le combat vraiment mérite la victoire. Nous sommes là aujourd'hui, nous sommes la voix des communautés, nous sommes la voix des sans-voix ici. Donc on est obligé de poser des actions concrètes comme je l'ai eu à dire. Et par rapport à la question, l'exemple frappant est que la caravane sur l'influence climatique qui s'est passée tout récemment, la majorité c'était la jeunesse. Donc c'est une preuve de l'engagement. Ça réaffirme le courage et la force que la jeunesse a pour relever ces défis. On a été dans les régions, on a rencontré les communautés, on a discuté avec eux. On les a montré les conséquences dévastatrices du changement climatique. On a également rencontré les autorités locales. On les a même remis la déclaration de la caravane. On aurait vraiment voulu que ça soit lu aujourd'hui, mais on est pris par le temps. Donc, on les a fait comprendre que les couches les plus vulnérables, qui sont les femmes et les jeunes, souffrent. Donc, il est vraiment temps qu'on ouvre des espaces de dialogue, des espaces de plaidoyer pour qu'on puisse solutionner cette injustice qui règne depuis des années. Donc, comme action concrète, j'ai dit que je suis membre de la convergence qui regroupe aujourd'hui 15 pays de l'Afrique de l'Ouest plus la Mauritanie. Donc, nous menons aussi des caravanes chaque 2 ans. Même cette année et l'année passée, en 2021, on a été dans 5 pays de l'Afrique de l'Ouest. Et on a commencé par le Sénégal, la Gambie, Guinée-Bissau, la Guinée-Conakry, la Sierra Leone. Donc, on a eu à rencontrer des chefs d'État parce qu'on a élaboré un document de plaidoyer qui est sur l'accès sécurisé des femmes et des jeunes à la terre. Parce que qui parle de changement climatique parle de la terre, parle de l'eau et parle des semences paysannes. Et ces femmes, nos mamans et les jeunes qui sont dans nos communautés souffrent, n'ont pas accès, elles sont marginalisées, elles sont mises à côté et les décisions les plus importantes qui les concernent, elles ne participent pas à cela. Donc, cette caravane leur permet de dire ce qu'elles veulent réaliser en tant que projet, ce qu'elles veulent réaliser en tant qu'action pour influencer les politiques. Donc, on a eu rencontré le chef d'État de la Guinée-Conakry et également le chef d'État de la Guinée-Bissau qui nous a promis et qui nous a donné l'espoir d'être notre porte-parole auprès de la CEDEAO aujourd'hui, ce qui donne encore un espoir à nous les communautés. Parce que je l'ai eu à dire, je suis là, je ne suis pas une simple participante à cette COP. Je suis victime de cette injustice. Mes parents sont victimes de cette injustice. Donc moi, en tant que femme, moi, en tant que jeune, je suis obligée de porter cette voix des sans-voix qui sont au fin fond de notre village et qui ne savent pas quoi faire face à ces désastres. Donc, concernant les décideurs, je pense qu'il est vraiment temps que les jeunes participent dans les espaces de dialogue qui sont organisés par les décideurs. Parce que nous aussi, on a notre mot à dire. On ne peut pas construire une nation sans pour autant consulter la jeunesse, sans pour autant consulter les femmes. Nous sommes incontournables dans le développement. Nous sommes incontournables dans toute chose qui est en rapport avec le développement de notre nation. Donc, il est vraiment temps qu'on ouvre des espaces de dialogue entre nous pour qu'on solutionne les choses ensemble. Parce que c'est la solidarité qui va faire qu'on peut relever ces défis-là. Il n'est plus temps au découragement. L'heure est au courage. Nous devons prendre notre destin en main et on ne peut pas laisser ces politiciens ou ces décideurs décider à notre place. Parce que ça nous concerne. Ce qu'ils décident, ça nous concerne. Et si on s'assoit et qu'on les laisse décider à notre place, ça sera à notre perte. Et ça, c'est vraiment dangereux pour nous, les activistes. Et ça, c'est vraiment dangereux pour nous, les acteurs de changement. Ça, c'est vraiment dangereux pour nous, acteurs de transformation sociale. Donc, il est vraiment temps qu'on ouvre des espaces de dialogue, qu'on donne aussi la parole à la jeunesse, qu'on donne aussi la parole à la femme pour qu'on puisse s'exprimer, pour qu'on puisse dire ce qui nous concerne. Il ne faut pas qu'on prenne les décisions à notre place. Il est temps que nous-mêmes, on soit impliqués dans ces prises de décisions qui nous concernent. Merci.
Thank you so much, Aishata. Again, that was a very powerful speech. We're going to have a Q&A after some time, so if you have any questions for our panelists, for Anik, for instance, on the youth climate agenda, setting the scene, you know, the vision for the future, or the agroecological practices that Marcelina was talking about, the household carbon footprint calculator app that Nasheed was talking about, Nishad, and also, of course, you know, the Climate Caravan that Aishata was talking to us about. If you have any questions, you will have, we can do it during the Q&A, and also you will have an opportunity to interact with them at the end of the event. But thank you so much. So the next session is, these are not the only climate, you know, young climate, incredible climate activists that we have. There are many, many, and that's what gives us hope. So we want to take a bit of time also to recognize the other climate activists. So we're going to show pictures of the, you know, great youth-led initiatives around the world. And if you recognize this as yours, please stand up, take the mic, and share it with the audience.
Hello, my name is Son Rahman. I'm from Bangladesh. I'm working with YouthNet for Climate Justice. So we are sharing a photo. It's from a climate heat area, Shamnagar of Bangladesh. And this community facing every year super cyclone. Like in 2007, super cyclone Cedar, then Ayla, then Mohsen, Nargis, Amphan, Bulbul, Ruanu, Yash, all are cyclones. So we build partnership with parliamentarians in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, youth participation is very limited. And Bangladesh is full of youth population, but they can't join to decision making. And sometimes they are inviting to some tokenistic consultation. So young people is powerful and parliamentarian also holding power. So we build impactful partnership with parliamentarians and we brought them in the community because we are telling locally led adaptation, and we organize local consultation, local visit, oversight visit to enhance climate finance and governance. And then we develop a report with joint oversight visit and we share in national parliament and as well as COP. So by this program, so we build a win-win mutual trust between youth and parliamentarian, and now we act together to solving climate crisis in Bangladesh. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sohanur.
Bonsoir à tout le monde. Je suis Ouedraogo Youssouf. Je viens du Burkina. Je suis un activiste climatique. Bon, en prélude de la COP27, sous le leadership de OXFAM Burkina, nous avons organisé une caravane climatique. Bon, nous avons d'abord commencé par faire une conférence de presse et en invitant les membres de la société civile qu'on appelle couramment OSC pour informer l'opinion publique des objectifs de la caravane. Voilà. Bon, maintenant, après, nous avons fait des plaidoyers auprès des autorités du Burkina. Et puis, nous sommes allés voir aussi les chefs coutumiers, les chefs religieux, pour exprimer ce qu'on attend aussi de leur communauté. Après ça, nous avons décidé de faire une parade dans les villes. Cette photo vient de la parade avec des slogans comme « Avez-vous la conscience tranquille? Nous sommes des locataires de la terre, prenons-en soin ». Bon, et concernant la parade, nous avons voulu inciter la population à plus d'actions pour faire les effets du changement climatique, les effets néfastes du changement climatique. Donc, c'est juste maintenant à la fin de la parade, nous avons remis, comment dirais-je, la déclaration. Nous avons remis la déclaration à monsieur le haut-commissaire de la région du Nord. Donc, sur ces photos, vous pouvez constater tout ça. Maintenant, je ne sais pas si on pouvait projeter. Cette photo, c'est... Cette photo, c'est monsieur le coordinateur de l'association pour l'éducation et l'environnement, remettant à monsieur le haut-commissaire de la région du Nord, remettant à monsieur le haut-commissaire de la région du Nord la lettre qu'on a écrite pour eux. Okay. Les autres photos, bon, c'était à Ouaga, donc je n'y étais pas. Merci bien.
Thank you so much, Yusuf.
This photo is from Mexico, where every month they go to restore the habitat of the, and I cannot pronounce this word, axolotl, which is a native species. Unfortunately, Naomi, the young girl who was going to present this to us, is not here today, but it's still important to acknowledge that youth action also happening in Mexico.
Thank you so much, Anna.
Yes, hi everyone, it's me, Hussam Imam, I'm from Egypt. Back in 2018, I went to Poland to attend the COP14 and COP24. And I met my colleague, Abdullah Ahmad, there. and we decided to have the climate action movement of youth, Jonge, in Egypt. So we started the local conference of youth in Egypt in 2019 with about 100 youth in Egypt. And this year, we had the local COI Egypt in 6 governorates, different regions of Egypt, different themes about women, farming, food security, about oceans, about energy. And we did this awareness for youth across Egypt, across governorates. And it was more than 2,000 of youth in Egypt attended these conferences. We gave them the awareness. We give them the access to have them voices through the youth statement, which will be handed tomorrow to the COP presidency. And we ended up with a very big event in Cairo with partnership with more than 9 UN entities, Save the Children and the American University in Cairo, with attendees of more than 50 NGOs in Egypt and more than 2,000 of youth in Egypt. This is our story. Like, it have been done after 4 years of working on the ground, and we are looking to work more in different cities in Egypt. We are a very big country. We are a very big population, and we have so different problems facing the climate change with different themes. Thank you for this opportunity, and I hope this story inspires someone to act for the climate change. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hossam.
Hello everyone, my name is Cynthia Honyuhi and I represent Pacific Island Students Fighting Climate Change, and we are campaigning for an advisory opinion from the highest court in the world, the International Court of Justice. And sorry, I'm going to walk and talk. And basically, we want to take the world's biggest problem to the highest court in the world. All right. Good fala evening and hello oloketa. This is a greeting in my own language from Solomon Islands. I bring greetings from the Pacific region on behalf of our people and as well as the youths fighting on the front line of climate change back at home. So to talk more on taking the world's biggest problem to the highest court in the world, I have my 2 colleagues with me, Tanya, who is our secretary of the Pacific Island Students Fighting Climate Change, and our treasurer, Roderick. We have a painting that we've brought with us all the way from Solomon Islands. We've traveled 48 hours to bring this painting to share with you all. So the painting illustrates the motivation for the initiative that we are carrying out. The initiative started 4 years ago in a classroom by 27 law students at the University of the South Pacific while we were studying international environmental law, including myself as well. So I'm sorry that not all of you can see the painting, and the average height for most Solomon Islanders is not really tall, so hopefully you can bear with us, and if you would like to see the painting after, we will have it available as well. So if you can look at the painting, you will see a girl from an island in the Solomon Islands holding sand in her hands. As you are aware, we in the Pacific Islands are on the front line of climate change. And many of our rights are already undermined because of the adverse effects of climate change. And one of the rights that is captured really well in the painting is the depiction of our islands. We have low-lying islands. So with the rising the sea level rise, most of our low-lying islands are slowly depleted. Our land is one of our treasured thing that we treasured, and it is where we based our identity and who we are on. So that is why our island is very important, and that is slowly losing because of the adverse effects of climate change. But we also understand that the smoke that started this fire did not come from our islands. That is why we know we need to take this initiative to the global stage. We want to tell the global stage that what they are doing in terms of emission is not right. Our Pacific leaders have already been saying this message for the past years. And we are here again to say it and bringing this tool that we are using. We understand that if the temperature rises above 1.5, our islands will cease to exist. And so we want to do whatever we can to draw the line on 1.5. And that is why we are looking for all the avenues that we can use to ensure that we achieve what we set out to do. And I'll highlighted in the beginning, one of the avenues or one of the tools that we're using is what we like to refer to as the ICJ-AO campaign, which basically refers to International Court of Justice Advisory Opinion. So basically, we want to, we are on our traditional boats, we call them waka. We're sailing and paddling ahead to the ICJ, The Hague in Netherlands, the International Court of Justice, but bringing with us the voices of the marginalized and unheard people from the Pacific, and as well as around the world, and as well as we do have a lot of spaces on our boat to have more people join us as we sail to seek this advisory opinion. All right, I would like to point out something that if you wish to see view after, you can. It's a small butterfly that you can't see. The small butterfly represents the 27 law students at the University of the South Pacific who started this initiative. They had no resources and there was nobody that supported them, but they did what they could. Now they have almost 81 states behind them and governments forming and a resolution about to be tabled at the United Nations General Assembly. So you see, with one step of action, we arrived here. If we had not taken that step, this wouldn't have been possible to have traveled this far to this stage. We are the youths in the Global South. We do not have the luxury and the privileges that most youths in the Global North may have in terms of activism. Some of our members cannot even come to meetings or events that we have because of challenges in terms of bus fare. Some of them are working to provide food on the table for their families, so they try to balance that with their work as well. Some of them don't have enough money to attend schools. But they still have the passion and they still want to participate in this campaign. And that is why we've traveled this far to be here. It's because of our members and their passion for this work. Those of us who are here today, I have my team here. We have some in front, some at the back, and then we have our World Youth for Climate Justice at the back. We were fortunate enough some of us were fortunate enough to get degrees, but also our families are also looking to us to go back home and support them by having jobs. But we also know that this is a very important cause. So that is why we are here, because we find that if we believe that if we don't do anything, we will not save what we enjoy now for our children and their children as well. All those barriers that I've mentioned in terms of bus fare, not enough money to attend school, struggling to put food on the table, we've endured that without much information, capacity building, training, but we managed to push through all those barriers to become the youth-led NGO that we are now, the Pacific Island Students Fighting Climate Change. So that is the activism, youth activism from the Global South. Here I stand, I ask all of you to support by going back home and bringing this particular campaign to your various countries. And as well, if you'd like to know more, our team will be happy to help out in answering questions or how you can join this campaign, how you can support it, since we are pressed for time as well. We are doing this not only for the Pacific Islands, but we believe this is a global problem that we are all facing. So we are doing this for our children, for your children, and their children's children. Thank you very much. Tagyo Tumas.
Thank you so much, Cynthia, and thank you for the others who have shared about their initiatives. I'm going to open the floor for Q&A, so please, this is an opportunity if you want to interact with the panelists. If you have a question, please raise your hand and someone will come with the mic. Your question can also be not only targeting the panelists, but also for the other activists who have shared with us their initiatives, including Cynthia, Hossam, and so on.
Yes, thank you. Does it work? No? Yes, works now. Okay, thank you. So I wanted to ask you, what can we from the Global North do to accommodate you from the Global South and to amplify your voices more? So what can we do to amplify your voices?
Thank you for the question. What shall you do to amplify our voices? I think the first thing is to come together. It is important now to come together as a unique youth. And, you know, by coming together, we learn a lot from each other, and we seize or we say loudly what is not going in our countries or different contexts. We see the similarities, and you know, we even come together as one unique. We have our voices, we have our priorities, we have our recommendations to be, you know, conducted or supported by the local government or international one. I think that will be a very good start point, coming together as a unique youth mobilization. Thank you.
Ok, merci pour cette question pertinente. Et comment faire? Ma camarade, elle vient de répondre. Et moi, j'ajouterais que c'est la solidarité. Je répète encore, c'est la solidarité qui peut porter notre voix loin. Parce que c'est vrai, tout le monde lutte dans les pays différents. Mais il est temps que nous convergeons les luttes. Il est temps que nous convergeons les actions. Il est temps que nous prenions nos mains. Parce qu'un seul doigt ne peut pas prendre un caillou, comme on dit en Afrique, mais plusieurs doigts peuvent prendre beaucoup de cailloux. Donc c'est ensemble que nous pouvons relever les défis et c'est ensemble que nous pouvons porter notre voix loin. Parce que si de plus on est nombreux, de plus la lutte elle est convergée, de plus ça donne plus de résultats positifs. Merci.
Ok, bonjour à tous, moi c'est Joy Kodo, je viens du Bénin et je suis guide. Avant de poser ma question, je voudrais, si vous le permettez rapidement, en moins d'une minute, présenter également nos actions sur le changement climatique parce que j'appartiens à l'Association mondiale des guides et éclaireuses et actuellement en Afrique, en Caraïbes et en Amérique latine, nous travaillons sur un programme dénommé Girl-Led Action of Climate Change. C'est un programme pour sensibiliser les filles et les jeunes femmes sur le changement climatique, comment elles peuvent être des actrices de changement. Et nous avons débuté depuis l'année passée et on continue de le faire. Nous avons fini avec la phase de sensibilisation et on a sensibilisé plus de 6 000 filles à travers les pays d'Afrique, 3 pays d'Afrique. Et actuellement, nous sommes en train de faire le plaidoyer à l'endroit des autorités des différentes régions. Et les filles également, comme elles ont pris conscience qu'elles sont des actrices de changement, elles sont en train de mener des petites actions communautaires dans leurs différentes régions pour soutenir cette lutte. Donc voilà ce que nous, en tant que guides, nous sommes en train de faire actuellement sur le changement climatique. Ma question, c'est par rapport à l'application sur l'empreinte de carbone. Je voudrais savoir, est-ce qu'il est possible, parce que je trouve ça assez intéressant, et actuellement, comme on est en train de travailler avec des filles dans plusieurs écoles, je voudrais savoir si c'est possible d'utiliser cette application, peut-être au Bénin d'abord et après peut-être dans d'autres pays d'Afrique. Merci.
Thank you, and good to know about your great work, and it's a massive number of young girls you're working with. Regarding the app, the basic information you need is emission data of your country, that if you can gather those information from your national data or through your governments or other agencies, this is the most critical information you need. The rest is just numerical calculation, which is officially approved by UNFCCC process, so you can use the same calculation process. It can be replicated in any country as long as you have the emission data. Right now we are trying to replicate in the countries, neighboring countries like UAE, Saudi Arabia and Oman very soon. So those countries' data are available for us, but like if you are interested, we are happy to discuss with you if you can do for your Benin and other countries, if you can get those emission data or emission data factors for your country. This is doable, yeah. We can get in touch and see how we can work together. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Moi, c'est Abdou Salam Thiam. Je suis le responsable du plaidoyer et des campagnes de OXFAM au Sénégal. Merci pour ces bonnes pratiques qui ont été partagées, ces leçons apprises vraiment qui sont que des succès, notamment dans le cadre de cette caravane que nous avons aussi menée au Sénégal. Et nos 2 collègues de la coalition du mouvement africain ont partagé les succès qui recoupent aussi tout ce que nous avons eu à obtenir. Ma question, c'est au-delà de ces succès, de ces bonnes pratiques que vous avez tous partagées, aujourd'hui au sein de ces mouvements de jeunes, quelles sont les faiblesses que vous notez? Quels sont les manquements qui méritent d'être renforcés? C'est très important de les soulever parce que le plaidoyer aussi, c'est quelque chose de stratégique avec tout le processus que ça comporte. Qu'est-ce que vous avez comme faiblesse en interne qui mérite d'être renforcée? Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, I'd like to answer. As one of our panelists, of course, hopefully you'll add on. But super interesting question. I think personally one of the big weaknesses of the youth climate movement, I think globally is that I see so many different youth organizations, so many young people all across the world starting these amazing initiatives. But some of us are trying to reinvent the wheel. And I think there could be so much more collaboration, solidarity within these movements and together with other organizations. And I really hope that here at the COP, obviously we have youth from all over the world doing all these different things on the streets, in the judiciary system, at the world's highest court, at the policy table. And I think it would be super, super powerful if we actually got together and made sure to kind of adjust our techniques and our strategies and our policies to each other, so that we make sure that if something like a COP happens or another international event or even just a national event, that we make sure that we push that strategy in all the different ways that are possible from all the different youth from all different countries and backgrounds. But I do think I see that happening just too little at this point. So I think that collaboration is super, super necessary if we want to make our global force even more powerful.
I will take it from that. So a colleague from there asked, how can I be part of any movement? I think it's better to join the existing organizations. Like in Egypt, you have ADS, you have Ahmed, you can talk to Ahmed here. They're working on cool projects. It's good to that you join existing organizations, or like you mentioned, it's better not to reinvent the wheel because it loses traction because youth goes disintegrated rather than integrating. Too many groups, too many demands, government don't take you seriously. So it is better to combine together as a one force, and then that would be a collective voice. So that's my recommendation given what you have observed. I've been observing that lately. There's a lot of organization coming up. So it is better we have a collective voices, maybe Africans as coming together as an African voice, from the Arab region as Arab one, European voices, Latin America voices, specific Highland voices. So it all comes as a together. They are collective. I mean, then at a conference like this, all this continent comes together, becomes a global voice.
Since you want me to add, I think the important thing has been said. When we unite the forces, we'll see that what is weaknesses at maybe another level, maybe strength. So by exchanging, we'll be having lesson learned experiences, scaling up opportunities, a mixture of those key things. I think what we think is weaknesses will be our forces. Thank you.
Ok, merci chers camarades pour cette pertinente question. Parlant des faiblesses de la jeunesse, moi j'aimerais ajouter qu'il y a aussi une côté la peur. Parce que la jeunesse, elle a peur de réussir quand elle commence quelque chose. Vous savez, chaque jeunesse a une mission. Soit tu l'accomplis, soit tu la trahis. Donc nous avons toujours cette peur de ne pas réussir. Donc ça fait que ça devient une faiblesse. C'est vrai, on a le courage, c'est vrai, on a l'engagement, mais on a peur de ne pas réussir. Et il y a aussi le manque de partage d'expérience. On ne partage pas d'expérience entre nous, jeunes, des différents pays, des différents continents. Donc, ce qui est primordial, et c'est un handicap aujourd'hui pour nous, la jeunesse. On ne partage pas d'expérience. Donc, il y a aussi moins de communication entre la jeunesse et les doyens, je peux dire. Les gens qui sont doués et qui ont une forte connaissance, qui ont beaucoup de connaissances par rapport à la lutte. Donc, il y a manque de communication entre ces gens-là, donc ça nous paralyse. Il faut que la jeunesse accepte le dialogue, il faut que la jeunesse accepte la communication entre ces personnes qui sont douées vraiment dans la lutte. Donc on ne dispose pas aussi assez d'espace de dialogue avec les décideurs. Il y a des décisions qui sont prises concernant nous-mêmes, mais on ne le sait pas. Donc ça a des répercussions négatives sur notre action. Donc c'est entre autres ce que je peux dire concernant les faiblesses de la jeunesse. Merci.
This is going to be the last question. Thank you.
OK. Donc je vais commencer d'abord par remercier nos panélistes. qui ont vraiment fait le partage avec nous. Je trouve vraiment que c'était un panel de qualité. Donc, et c'est vraiment intéressant de remarquer que ce sont des jeunes qui animent ce panel-là. Je profite d'ailleurs de partager l'expérience de ma structure, puisque j'appartiens à une structure de jeunes, Jeunesse Unie pour un développement durable au Burkina Faso. Et la plupart de nos activités, c'est vraiment les campagnes de reboisement, des campagnes de sensibilisation, des partages d'expériences, parce que nous accueillons aussi des personnes d'autres pays. Et puis voilà. Donc ma question, c'est vraiment à l'endroit du Togo et du Bénin, nos panélistes. Est-ce que lors de la mise en place de la caravane, du moins, vous n'avez pas rencontré des problèmes avec vos autorités? Je ne sais pas. Est-ce que quelque part, il n'y a pas eu une difficulté d'accessibilité? Si vous pouvez faire ce partage-là. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, camarades. Donc, par rapport à l'inquiétude, nous avons, dans la mise en œuvre de la caravane, effectivement, nous avons rencontré ce problème, vu surtout au Togo, de la sensibilité de certaines zones, de certaines régions du Togo. Il y a des caravanes, des manifestations, genre manifestations, marches, avec, vous voyez, genre vraiment caravane n'a pas été favorable. Mais par contre, à l'intérieur, surtout nous au niveau de la Jeunes Volontaires pour l'environnement, où déjà nous travaillons avec les préfets, les maires des régions, avec la décentralisation qui est maintenant à jour au Togo. Donc, ils nous connaissent, ils sont en partie prenante de nos activités, donc ça a été facile à l'intérieur des régions. Mais par contre, au niveau de la région de la Savane, par exemple, nous avons plutôt, au lieu d'effectuer une caravane digne de ce nom, nous avons fait plutôt des activités zonales où nous mobilisons des communautés, nous discutons sur l'enjeu, nous discutons sur les objectifs qui nous rassemblaient, notamment partager avec eux, savoir comment est-ce qu'ils vivent ces effets des changements climatiques, quelles sont les initiatives qu'elles-mêmes elles ont développées et comment est-ce qu'elles pensent que les parties prenantes peuvent d'une certaine manière accompagner ces initiatives. Donc c'est plus dans cet élan que, voilà, il y a des caravanes qui ont été réalisées dans certains pays, mais dans certaines zones, dans certaines régions, mais par contre d'autres, c'est des rencontres, des rendez-vous, des discussions bilatérales avec des autorités. Et voilà un peu ce que je peux dire par rapport à ce défi. Merci.
Okay. We're running out of time. Sorry. But you will have time right after this event to interact with all the panelists. I apologize about this. So we're going to do a closing remark. I want to give the opportunity actually to the panelists to do a closing remark, because I cannot do justice to what they discussed for the past hour and a half. So we'll start with Anik all the way to Aishata. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll try and keep it as short as possible. I mean, as the youth climate movement in the Netherlands, but as the We Are Tomorrow Global Partnership as well here in the panel, I think one of our main messages is that we need youth to be at the policy table, because at the policy table is where the policies are drafted for us and where the millions of dollars are divided. And if it's not done for us, then, or if it's not done with us, it will be done for us. And it's so powerful to be able to be there in that early phase of policymaking, in that early phase of money division, because that is where we can really have a true impact. And I believe that so many more youth should be empowered to take that seat, because we belong on that at that table, and we're smart enough, we have the energy, we have all of the solutions. So we, as a Dutch Youth Climate Movement, are trying to build this movement in the Netherlands, but the movement is so much bigger than just our country. The We Are Tomorrow is showing that, so I really try and I would really try and motivate people from all over the world to join our movement and show that policymaking is really where youth are supposed to be.
Voilà, je vais compléter avec ce que Annick vient de dire. C'est vraiment très important pour nous de nous unifier, venir ensemble et renforcer nos capacités, mutualiser les actions pour pouvoir vraiment impacter, porter nos voix, porter les voix des jeunes que nous représentons dans nos localités, porter les voix des communautés que nous accompagnons à ce que certains éléments soient pris en compte dans le processus décisionnel de chaque pays. Et ça serait vraiment un honneur pour nous de nous retrouver, pourquoi pas à chaque COP, avoir une plateforme des jeunes Afrique, des jeunes Pacifique, des jeunes Amérique, etc., pour pouvoir échanger des bonnes pratiques qui ont marché, apprendre davantage et aussi vraiment influencer les décisions. Donc je crois que c'est un appel à l'action plutôt que je vais lancer à l'endroit de nous jeunes, de ne pas travailler en silo, mais plutôt de venir ensemble. Et je crois que chemin faisant, nous allons vraiment arriver au bon port. Merci.
Much of the good things have been told, so I wouldn't jump far. Working on advocacy, awareness, and also young people to work on policy and solutions. There are a lot of opportunity for young grown-up engineers and policy students to work on real policy making. Try to be part of your national negotiation teams. Try to be part of the national teams on science and development. Look at the technology which can be actually help and adapt or mitigate emissions. So this is something we can work a step ahead of beyond advocacy and awareness. So I call upon all of you who are working on the field of policy or engineering to look at solution and policy aspects of climate.
Ok, merci à tous et à toutes. Et merci quand même de m'avoir permis d'exprimer ce que je pense par rapport au changement climatique. Parce que je suis une envoyée, je suis un espoir de la communauté. Donc après cette COP, quand je rentrerai au village, je ferai un compte rendu bref de tout ce que j'ai vu ici et de tout ce que j'ai fait ici pour les communautés. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, je suis leur voix. Donc, et je remercie tout le monde. Et la caravane qu'on a eu à réaliser dans les 28 pays de l'Afrique, c'était vraiment une œuvre gigantesque. Donc, je rêve que ça se répète encore. Parce que ça donne l'espoir. Et ça permet aux communautés de savoir qu'est-ce qu'elles font face. Donc, ça les permet de s'informer auprès de nous, qui sont leurs voix, qui sont leurs espoirs. Donc, et je remercie tout le monde. Et en terminant mon mot de fin, je lancerai quand même ces slogans qui sont forts et qui me tiennent à cœur et qui ont été lancés aussi pendant la caravane, qui est que ma terre n'est pas un crédit carbone. On répète ensemble, ma terre n'est pas, à qui la terre? À qui l'eau? À qui les semences? Merci, chers camarades. À bas les pollueurs, je m'engage contre le changement climatique. Merci.
Thank you, everyone. We're done. Thank you so much, Aishata. Thank you to all our panelists, to Nishad, to Marcelina, to Anik, to Cynthia, and Nishad, and everyone. Thank you so much.